Wow, it has been a long while since I've made a video on this channel, and honestly, there really just hasn't been too much going on, at least in my opinion, and really that I've been interested in the NASCAR world. But recently, there's been a ton of stuff happening with the whole virus thing, and everyone having to stay away from races, and the NBA, NFL, all the national sporting events being canceled and not being able to go out and all that stuff. And so NASCAR's been doing a pretty cool thing, I think, and they partnered with iRacing to do the Pro Invitational Series. And obviously iRacing has their Coca-Cola series as well, which is all the professional iRacing drivers, and they always put on a pretty good show. I'd say they usually have races, I think, Tuesday at 8 p.m. So their season's been going pretty well. But yeah, the Pro Invitational is cool because it really brings out a lot of drivers from, obviously real life Sprint Cup series that don't usually do iRacing as much. Obviously Dale Earnhardt Jr., Tony Stewart do it a lot, just to name a few. But I think most of the garage really doesn't, at least not publicly as much. And so yeah, it's really neat that they're getting everyone out there to do the Pro Invitational Series. I know I was excited when Jimmy Johnson said he was doing it the first week or whatever. So yeah, I think it's been it's a really good opportunity for the sport. But I hear a lot of people saying online that, iRacing is just a game, and, why are people getting mad over a video game and all this stuff. And then you had the Bubba Wallace thing, obviously, and the other thing that happened. And I want to make this really clear. And this is why I'm making this video, is because I feel like people need to understand, iRacing is not a game. A game is NASCAR Heat 4, or NASCAR Thunder 2004, or any of the EA NASCAR games. Those are games. That's a console game you play with a controller, and you're just okay, that's a game. Now, those are good games, and those, can be super fun, and, doesn't mean they're not good. They're not of quality. They definitely bring value to people. They bring value to me still. I love playing my NASCAR games, all of them that I have. But iRacing, iRacing is not a game. And, a lot of people don't understand that iRacing it's a simulation. iRacing is a subscription service. That's what it is. It's a service for simulating real racing. You don't see real drivers going to play NASCAR Thunder 2004 or NASCAR Heat 4, I guess is a more relevant example, to practice for the upcoming race at Texas or at Talladega, or whatever. You're not going to play an EA NASCAR game, or a whatever console NASCAR game. You're going to get on iRacing, because iRacing is a simulation. That's why it's so expensive. That's why people buy all these fancy rigs and steering wheels and pedal sets and all this crazy stuff, because it's a simulation. It's supposed to simulate real racing. And trust me when I tell you this, if you've ever done it, it does a pretty good job at it, and it's probably the best way to do it. There's other sims out there R Factor 2, and there's a lot out there. I mean, I'm not going to name all of them off right now. Like I said, Corsa and all those good ones as well. But and a lot of them are cheaper. But iRacing, for our purposes, is a simulation. So it's not a game. So stop saying it's a game. It's not a game. It's a simulation. All right? And it's a really, really good one at that. And so that brings me kind of to how serious should iRacing be taken? And I think, again, this is where people get mixed up. And, the whole Bubba Wallace thing, he lost that sponsor or whatever for quitting out of the race after he got wrecked, or whatever the situation was a couple weeks ago. I think it should be taken seriously, because, again, and especially when you're going to be, if you're driving for anyone, you're representing not only yourself, but you're representing all the people, all the sponsors on your car, the entire team, everyone involved, your family, everybody. And so to do something like that is, you can think what you want. I don't think it was very mature of him. And again, because it's televised, and it's the Pro Invitational, it's this special event that's happening, everyone can view it. You have your real sponsors on there. It's not like he had I don't know, French fries on there or whatever. He had his real life sponsors on his virtual race car. And so it's the same as getting regular media attention at the real racetrack, You're still on TV. It's just a virtual make of your car going around the track, but it's still being broadcasted. And because of that, yeah, it should be taken somewhat seriously. And so rage quitting like that is basically the equivalent of Talladega Nights when the driver just drives in and gets out of his car and goes to take, a bite. And then, Ricky Bobby becomes NASCAR champion. But yeah, it's so I think it definitely should be taken seriously because you have the same sponsors, all the same drivers, the sanctioned tracks. It's real life in virtual form. And it's still broadcasted. If it wasn't broadcasted, maybe you can take it a little less seriously, but I think it's still something that you should treat with respect. And I didn't really see that out of Bubba when he, quit the race, because what are you going to do whenever something doesn't go your way? You're just going to walk away and quit? I don't agree with that. So, yes, I think it is a more serious event than people really want to think it is, at least for the main races. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of races on there that aren't going to be taken nearly as seriously that you can kind of more have fun in. And even iRacing, if you go on and look on the service, if you haven't looked at it yet, they do have for fun events that don't, that are literally just for fun. It's still not a game, but it's as close to a game as you're going to get on a simulator. And remember, this is a simulator. And so, that kind of brings me to my next topic, which is, does online racing kind of promote a little more aggressive driving because it's not real? And that's an interesting question. And I'd have to say, I think the reason or the answer might be yes. And that's because, well, no one's life, in theory, is at risk when you're iRacing because you're just sitting in a chair, driving. And if you get wrecked, if you have a Jimmy Johnson Pocono 2017 on iRacing, doesn't really matter. Yeah, your race is over, but you're fine. There's no bodily harm or injury at risk in iRacing. And obviously the cars are free. Right? So you're not driving around $250,000 race cars that if you crash it, you yourself aren't going to be on the hook for as a driver, but your team's going to have to repair it and do all this stuff. There's a lot less from that perspective. And so because of that, yeah, I think drivers are a little more aggressive. Also, again, it's a simulation. It's not exact. It will never be reality, but it is close. It's close enough. But because it's not quite there, yeah, there are going to be some discrepancies. So maybe, two cars get together, they don't actually touch in the replay, but because of the programming, a crash happens anyway. There's going to be stuff like that, but that's a pretty rare case. iRacing is very high quality, and so yes, I think it does. I don't think it promotes it, but I think because of the factors already listed, I think it does. There's less over the driver's heads of, if I do this, I have these implications. So I think that is definitely, at least something to think about, food for thought, if you will. And finally, yeah, I just wanted to go over the Bubba Wallace debate. I guess I already kind of did, but yeah, I think if you quit, that's just not the right move to make. And like I said before, you're representing everyone, your sponsors, your team, family, anyone really that's kind of associated with you, at least publicly. And so it's not a good look. Should they have left him right away, and could they have done it a little more professionally? Yeah, probably. But either way, you shouldn't have done that. I mean, you're being paid to sit at home and basically race against your friends. I know 99% of people would probably kill for that, myself included. So I don't really feel too bad. But anyway, that's just my side of it. I'm sure you guys will disagree with me. At least some of you will, and some of you might agree with me. But that's just my opinion on it. But I'm not even going to talk about the other thing. There's nothing to say there. Nothing needs to be said about that. But Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I just wanted to get this out because I really thought this had to be talked about, and I was just like, I don't know why people don't understand why people get so frustrated, and anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, so that's all I have. I hope you guys, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you leave a like, that's awesome. Helps me out a lot. If anything, you should leave a like for this hat. Check that out. I got that pretty recently, and I really, really like it. Dale Earnhardt's Lumina from like 92 or 3, early 90s basically, but yeah, pretty sick. So leave a like just for that. I mean, come on. And then yeah, subscribe if you enjoy the content, and we'll see. I mean, I do like making these videos. I just recently, there hasn't been much for me personally I thought I needed to talk about, but if there are more, then I'll be happy to make more. And I do have a new way of editing that is going to be a lot faster and easier for me, which is really going to help the process, because sometimes that gets you down a little bit, or at least it can. So I'll try to get these going a little more frequently for you guys, depending on news and all that going on in the sport. But yeah, just want to get my thoughts out there. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.